Welcome back to Hands On Channel, guys, or welcome here if it's your first time coming by. But today we're going to talk about the news. I came home from work today. I wasn't actually planning on making a video this evening, but I came home from work today and I watched Biden's speech today about mandating and forcing people that haven't taken the V to take the V. And it's a sinister plan. It's the kind of a plan that would only come from a tyrant or a person that's a dictator, because the President of the United States, the executive branch, does not have the authority to do this. Therefore, it's unconstitutional. At one point in his speech, he said it's his job and duty to protect the citizens of the United States, and that is not true. There is a specific set of rules and directives that the President of the United States is supposed to follow, and that is not one of them. That is certainly outside of his authority. So we're going to get into this news. I'm really concerned about it because, you know, myself, I'm self-employed. So I choose whether or not I'm going to take the V or not. I'm good. But my wife is not. She works for an organization that could very well force the mandate, because it had to do with companies that had more than 100 employees. So if you're working for a real small place, maybe there's only 20, 30, 40 employees, you're good. Or up to 99, you're good. But if you're working for a place that has over 100 employees, look out, Jack, because they could very easily come in and force your employer by fine and by other things, just by pressure from the federal government, to make you get a V or fire you, one or the other. I mean, they're trying to put the squeeze on the employers, and some big fines were going to come with that. So I'm just going to go through a few headlines here because I know your time is precious, but these are articles that I think you should go read after you're done watching this video. So the first one here that really caught my eye: the Biden regime drops iron fist on private sector, will require V's or weekly Rona testing. Employers that don't comply will face substantial fines. So, I mean, to my knowledge, the President of the United States has zero authority over your business. Maybe you can point that out to me in the Constitution where it says that he can go in and take control of your private business, but that is a violation of private property, and therefore a violation of the Constitution. This is kind of ironic. Commie Harris, on the same day Biden announced V mandates, she says this: when people are able to make choices without government interference, we are a stronger society. Well, for once I agree with Commie Harris. At least I don't know what the context was, but as it pertains to forced V's, I totally agree with you and every other example of individual liberty and self-governance. So yeah, I mean, she can't get any worse. She's a train wreck. I could only imagine if something were to happen and she ended up becoming the president. I mean, I could only imagine the train wreck that would ensue. That may be exactly what they want. I don't know. Here was a little blip of good news, possibly. It says, we will fight Biden to the gates of hell to protect liberty. GOP governors prepare to sue the Biden administration over unconstitutional V mandate. So I'm not alone in my feeling that this is a complete violation of Joe Biden's authority. So you're not alone either if you're thinking that as well, and you're like, hey, when's somebody going to stand up and do something? Well, it sounds like some of the governors are trying to do something. So if your governor's one of those that's in this group that's trying to get lawsuits going, you should salute them and encourage them to continue on. If your governor's not doing it, you need to get them pressured into getting in on the lawsuit so you can protect his citizens of the state that you live in. This guy, Ohio Senate candidate J.D. Vance, he's calling for mass civil disobedience in response to Joe Biden's tyrannical mandates. Now, I understand the sentiment there, but I wouldn't call it civil disobedience. I would say it's time for mass, peaceful non-compliance. I don't think we're quite at the civil disobedience part where that means breaking the law, and peaceful non-compliance means you're not breaking the law, they're breaking the law, and you're not going to comply because the law is the supreme law of the land. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And unless Joe Biden or somebody else has thrown it out and used it for a piece of toilet paper and I just wasn't aware of it, it's still the supreme law of the land. One of the things I've been asking myself is, can you trust the numbers that are coming out of the government offices? Any one, take your pick, FDA, CDC, Biden's administration. Well, today during his speech, he was saying that nearly 75% of the people of America that are eligible have already had the V. Now, I would ask you, do you believe that? Do you think that's true? Or do you think that could be part of a psychological attack to make the people in the unV'd group feel more and more isolated every day? I think that's what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised if the actual real numbers of people that have taken the V aren't really closer to 40 to 60%. And they're just exaggerating that number to make you feel more isolated. So here it is again. Here's an example of more of their lies coming out every day. The CDC is once again manipulating minds by manipulating the death toll numbers from the Rona jab, exaggerating the numbers down because it's not good, doesn't make them look good if the death numbers from the V go up too high, because then other people will start to question it and they won't want to take Joe Biden's advice when he leaned into the microphone and said, "You need to go take the V." I mean, you talk about a creepy, creepy dude. I can't imagine. I'll tell you this way, if I still had a young daughter or even my nephews or nieces or anything, I would not take them around Joe Biden. I mean, he's just a freaking creeper. You can just see it all over him. So at the end of Biden's speech, he kind of smacked his hand on the podium and just turns and bolts out of the room. And meanwhile, reporters are screaming questions at him, and they're like, one of them was like, you could hear him clear as a bell. He goes, "Is the V mandate constitutional?" And Biden, you could swear, he picks up his speed. I mean, he got out of there quick. They told him, his handlers told him, "You go out here and you read this canned statement to the American people. This is your job, to be our puppet. We got you the job, so you better do what we say, puppet." I could only imagine. It's sad in a weird way. I don't really feel sorry for Biden because I know he's been a lifelong communist, but it's sad what they're doing to a guy that clearly has dementia, advanced stages of dementia. Here's one for you. Headline: Biden declares war on unV'd Americans. He says, like a dictator, "Our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us." So I know at one point in the speech he says, you 75% that have taken the V, you're doing a good job. And I know you're angry. I know you're angry at the people who haven't taken the V. And, that could be true. Maybe some of them are angry. Obviously, when you read their comments online, some of them, a percentage of them are angry that everyone didn't go out and do exactly what they did. On the other hand, that's neither here nor there. Have you ever heard of a president using speech like that to psychologically manipulate people? Because that, at the end of the day, that's what this whole speech was about, manipulation. So here's one for you. He's trying to bully our governors. He says, "I will use my power to get them out of the way. Tyrant Joe Biden vows to bully, harass GOP governors who refuse his V rules." So he's coming. He's coming for your governor. Oh, this was a doozy. Joe Biden says, and this is a direct quote, you can go read this yourself. Joe Biden says, "COVID V mandates are not about freedom or personal choice." Sorry, senile Joe, that's exactly what it's about. It's about you trying to implement a medical tyranny on the citizens of the United States, a free people, a once free people. I guess we'll see when this is all done whether we remain to be free or not. It's not looking good, guys, for people that love liberty and consider themselves a patriot and kind of wanting to be, off the grid, or independent people, independent-minded people, all people that have strive for a better life in the United States. If you believe in free market capitalism and things like that, you're in a minority now, according to these people. So not everybody in the feds are going along with this bull crap. The Federal Law Enforcement Association, representing 30,000 officers and agents, opposes Biden's V mandate, floats lawsuit. So the lawsuits are already starting to stack up. And I was thinking about that. Honestly, maybe that's part of the plan, because at the end of the day, all they're trying to do is destroy the country at any means, any means necessary. Overwhelm the system, Cloward and Piven. We've talked about it like a broken record. They're coming for you and everything that you love. So I've warned you. My conscience is going to be clean when the bad stuff starts happening. Guys, yeah, this is a very concerning time to me. I sat there with my mouth open while I was watching the speech of Joe Biden, basically declaring he was going to be the new tyrant, the new dictator in the United States, and he was going to mandate these things without calling them a mandate directly. He called them requirements. So just like a lawyer wrote it, which they did, some lawyer somewhere representing some group of, corporations or whatever, wrote that BS for Biden to read there, his canned speech, because that's all he's allowed to do, because that's all he's capable of doing. Just the other day, I saw an article, a day or two ago, I saw an article about how the Biden people, that his handlers around him, they say they have to hit the mute button whenever he's on TV speaking on their TVs, because they're afraid they'll hear him saying stuff that he's not supposed to say, going off script, because that's what he does all the time. He's an Alzheimer's guy, or dementia, or whatever he's got, some kind of advanced brain rot. It may just be from all the years of, worshiping Marxism and communism. I don't know. That could be a big cause of his problem, his dementia that he has now. I don't really know, because many older people I know, it's not about age. It's not an ageist or ageism thing. It's about the fact that this guy, who is overstepping his authority by leaps and bounds every day, has zero business being the leader of the free world. So my hope with doing videos like these is not to scare you, but rather to prepare you, so that whenever this stuff comes to your state, you'll already know that it's coming. You won't be caught like a deer in the headlights, or whatever you'd say, or like a sheep, like the rest of the sheep. You'll be prepared for this. And if you face termination at your workplace because of this stuff, you have to let them fire you. As painful as that is, you have to make them fire you, and go through all the steps, file your religious exemption or your moral exemption or whatever you think will fly at your employer, maybe all of the above. But file your exemptions, and that goes for people in the federal government and the military as well. You should have a religious exemption. You're going to have to come up with your own reason of why you believe this violates your right to religion and freedom of religion, but it should help you get out of a pinch, especially if you can get some kind of support, like a constitutional attorney, such as Chris Ann Hall on YouTube. So guys, anyways, I got to get in. This is just cooking my noodle here, that all this stuff happened today. It blew my mind. This is bombshell news. I hope you guys are prepared for this. Don't let it scare you. Be prepared for the worst, because, you could be facing a time in the future where you're unemployable because you've chosen to live and to have your health liberty and not be experimented on. So many violations. The Nuremberg Code, all these different things that they're violating right now. The biological warfare treaties that we have, they're violating a lot of stuff. And so far, very few people are doing anything to fight back. Appreciate you tuning in. Sorry it's bad news, but I stand for liberty. I hope you do too. We'll see you next time.